My name is Farnaz Hashimpur. I'm the founder of Stories by You, sharing some of the great, inspiring stories by others, true stories. And we just pray and hope that you have already subscribed and you like some of these videos, as they are amazing stories that you don't want to miss. So today's discussion is one of my best, actually one of my most favorite subjects are the boundaries of life. So we know as a healthy living, everyday life, we need to have boundaries, right? So with that, we have our special guest that's going to be talking about boundaries of life, of her life, parenting as a single mom, and also working at the same time. But all of that happens with the help of God. So our guest today is one of my great friends. Her name is Sarah. She's really a dear friend from God. And I met Sarah, it was just like yesterday. I met her at the Franklin Park in DC. She was making blessing bags for the less fortunate. And we kept in touch. And there was another opportunity that it presented itself. And it gave me an opportunity to have another event at the Franklin Park. And this one was to distribute food, blankets, etc. And so many people chipped in and helped. And Sarah was one of them. She called me immediately and she had a ton of blankets and we picked them up. And that was another blessed day that was coming into my life. That was Sarah. And it was just amazing. I can go on and on about it. But just to introduce her, Sarah lives in DC and she has a very beautiful, handsome son, beautiful, handsome, who is 1 year old. So she's going to be here joining us and sharing her story. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us on Stories by You, and I welcome you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. And as a single mom, we know that boundaries are so important. So, it makes it hard every day to juggle with different tasks when it comes to work and also be a parent in general, right? So tell us a little bit about your story and how did things started as a single mom?
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me on here. I'm excited to talk about this topic that affects everyone. Boundaries are super hard to put into place. I'm still in the process of it, but it started for me really realizing the importance of boundaries through becoming a mother. We hear about it all the time for, business success, life happiness, to have boundaries in all of your relationships in your life. So I knew it was important, but I never prioritized actually doing it. And first becoming a mom, I wanted to do everything right. I wanted to be the best mom I could possibly be. So because of that, I didn't necessarily want boundaries because I didn't want to say no. I wanted to take on everything and plan everything. And I think also being a single parent, I felt the need at that time to try to overcompensate. Oh, my son doesn't have a traditional family, so I want to, make sure that he's got a ton of friends, and I'm planning all these parties for the other kids, and it was a lot. And I had family members that would just say, so what's the plan for this holiday, or what's the plan for his birthday? And I would just, yes, yes, yes. Oh, you want to see him this weekend? And I was running myself ragged. And I don't like to fake anything. I know there's the saying, like, fake it till you make it. And maybe there are times that is totally, appropriate to do. For me, I didn't want to fake being happy around my son. I didn't want to fake having energy. I wanted to be genuine and authentic because that's what I want for him. And we have to lead by example. All of this led me to realize, well, the only way I'm going to be less spread thin and a more present and genuinely happy parent is if I have more energy and more time. Well, we can't create more time in a day. I already eat pretty healthy for energy. So the only other option paired with a more structured schedule was putting boundaries in place. and trying to identify what were the boundaries that were appropriate. Like I said, it's still a work in progress, but I had to put boundaries in place with my career, with my family, with friends, and I prayed on it for quite a while, and I just asked God to lead me because I didn't want to feel guilt, which, being someone that, naturally likes to help everyone and likes to say yes, I would feel guilt previously, and I never put myself first. I can say, since putting boundaries into place after praying for guidance with how to approach it and what to say, I feel better, a better version of myself. I believe I am parenting better by having these boundaries in place. And as a single parent, it looks a little different. At the same time, it's a generalized, process. And it really benefits you if you're a single parent to have boundaries in place and have a schedule in place.
It sure is not easy, Sarah, for anyone who's a single parent to juggle all of that. And also, there are times that you feel guilty, and we're human. That's supernatural for a lot of ladies who have kids. But this is great information. So, with what you just shared with us, there are times that's important to have support from friends and family and people that can understand what we're going through, because they've been there, they've done that. And it's okay to ask for help. Do you ever find that that you could ask for help?
I think that is an area I'm still working on improving. I have struggled always wanting to do everything myself. I want to be independent and I want to take it on myself. And that it kind of plays back into, it spreads you too thin. And, same thing without having the boundaries. Asking for help is hard. And it's not hard because it makes you weak. It's hard because it's hard to do important things. And it's important to ask for help, to know your limits. I control everything and I plan everything, and to ask for help, it also comes back to guilt, like, well, why can't I do it all? I should be able to do all of this. And it's a roller coaster. There are times that it seems easier than not to ask for help. I think something I want to stress a lot to people, though, is that before seeking help from others, I think it's very important to go to God. And a lot of times our first response to something is to call a friend or call a family member, or just even talk out loud to ourselves like we're frustrated, instead of our first response being going to God to say, God, I need help. We try to, at least for me, I try to solve something myself, and I need to pause and go to God first, and then ask, is this something I need to ask for help? And if so, please guide me to the best approach, the best person, right? Because God can use everyone and anyone in our lives. And by us opening ourselves and asking for guidance from Him, He'll place the right people. And from firsthand experience, it wasn't until recently where I had been praying, like, I know I need help, God. I don't know who I can ask for help and to give me the help and the support that I needed, right? Like, there are people that will offer to help in their own way, but it might not be the actual help that I need. So, for example, if a family member were to help, with Alec, that would require me driving, 45 minutes without traffic to take him there, and then back. And that's time I don't have in a day. And all I was needing to do was, run to the grocery store or, something along those lines. So I just kept praying, God, I need help. I don't know where it's going to come from. I can't, I would love to have a family and have a partner. And I believe that I will. In the meantime, though, where does that help come from? And totally unexpectedly, and I didn't realize it in the moment, but I had a situation come about, and a friend was needing to come back to DC and was asking about, oh, if I knew anywhere, she'd be able to look into a room to rent short term. And I have an extra room here. And so I said to her, like, yeah, sure, you can stay, come stay here. And she responded like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Because again, I like to help people. And of course, I'm going to take on everything. But she responded with, well, I can't wait to be able to help you with the things, you need to around the house. And it wasn't until I responded like, oh, you don't have to worry about that. But then when I was writing my gratitude to God one morning, I said, oh my goodness, this was you delivering on that prayer. And this was the right person and the right timing. So if I hadn't been praying and I just sought any help or any support, instead of saying, oh Lord, I need the right support for myself and my son, and I continued to pray on it, and I waited, and he delivered. And it's the exact support that I need, because having someone in the home, it's a lot easier to have help, right? And you don't really have to ask, like, she just kind of does. So when you turn it over to God, when you go to God first, let him reveal to you and let him place the people, okay, to help you. It's awesome. And in those times, it is appropriate to ask for help. I think that I would like to see more people, including myself, get more comfortable asking for help, because when we're not taking everything on, we're not burning ourselves out, and we're able to be more present, be more happy, be more appreciative, and have more time and energy to do more of God's work. When I'm not exhausting myself, doing the load of laundry while I'm doing the dishes, and making Alex dinner while, holding him on a work, conference call, when I free up some of that time, I'm able to, plan other things to do to reach others with God's love. So
wow, what a great way of putting all of that together. And I love how God delivered for you, Sarah, during the times that you felt, I do need help, but I'm not just going to act upon it. I'm going to give it all to God to control. So you let go and you let God, and he delivered perfectly for you. And I'm just so glad to hear that. That's amazing to hear. We are not meant in this life to do things on our own. There's reasons for communities. We need to create communities. We need help from one another. And that's what discipleship and everything, fellowship and everything that does happen for us in this life, and is really crucial. So thank you for all of that. You just beautifully stated everything so well. So, when there are days that is so much put on you from every angle, how do you handle those situations?
sure. I'm kind of going through a phase right now that's a little challenging, and the best way that I have found to get through these times is I pray a lot more. But I also, there was this saying, I can't remember, I was watching something or listening to something, and it was saying how to state, I'm going to pray and enjoy the rest of the day. And I started implementing that a couple months ago, and it didn't matter what disaster, but whatever was happening, I prayed about it and I made the choice to let it go. It wasn't going to ruin my day. I was still going to make the best of that day. And it's tricky, right? Because you don't want to pray and be like, oh, I'm done with it, out of sight, out of mind, because not addressing and not solving things that are challenging or overwhelming, that's obviously not the answer. But when you pray and you say, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do with this. I don't know how to do this. Please give me the strength and reveal to me how to do this. And then obviously, like it kind of stays somewhat in my mind, like that I know that I need to address something, but then I focus on if I'm playing with Alec or if I've got a meeting at work, I'm present in those moments. So when I circle back to pray again, I usually have something that was revealed to me between the first time I prayed and to the next time I prayed that gets me a little closer to solving that problem. And going for runs helps me. I have to have a physical release, but when I'm going through a hard time, I pray on my runs. I will pray the entire time on my runs. And it's my conversation with God. I think it's really important. I surround myself regularly with reminders of how God is in my life, and, actively reading Bible scriptures, and, all of that plays a part, because, and the thing is this, life is never going to be easy. It's never going to be perfect, but we can differentiate between a bad day and we're on the right path versus something's not right in my life and I don't know what I need to change. But both, we are going to God first. I have found, for me, going to God is the best outlet. Everyone's different. So some people, they respond best by talking to others in similar situations. But for me, I just feel that every situation and every person is very unique. And the only one that knows everything is God. And he knows everything you're going through. He knows why you're going through it, and he knows how you're going to come out of it. So just really surrendering to God. And that means even if I feel sad and I'm crying, I'm going to cry. And I say, I praise you for this challenge because I know there's a purpose. Yeah. And you just keep going forward. It is not easy. It is not easy, but you have to keep going forward. Trust God. Trust God. That's honestly what has gotten me through everything. And it's funny, I thought of myself as having a strong faith. I was raised going to church and praying. My grandmother really instilled that in me, leading by example, which was, I'm forever grateful. It's the best thing that could have ever been given to me is the foundation of my faith. Well, she passed away in 2015. And it wasn't until she passed away that I realized how I wasn't going to God as much as I thought I was. And that's because there was one day I was driving home and I don't know what I was going through, but I said, oh man, I wish I could call grandma and, ask her what to do. And instantly I smiled. I said, I know what she would say. She would say, pray.
Yes.
And what I would always do is, in the past, when I needed to pray, I'm gonna call grandma. Grandma, I need you to pray for this for me, instead of doing it myself, right? So then that was a big shift. Of course, I would have liked to have my grandma here forever, but I understand in having her go to heaven, my faith got stronger with God. My relationship grew stronger with God at that time. And then I'm like, oh yeah, like God and I are super tight. But having my son took it to a whole new level. The pregnancy itself, like while I was pregnant, was so awesome because it forced me to slow down because I wanted to create the healthiest, best environment while I was pregnant and keeping everything calm and peaceful. A lot of reflection, a lot of praying. Well, that was wonderful. Through the pregnancy, I had no way of knowing that my son was actually going to be born a month early. So when that happened, he was born a month and a day early. He was a preemie. He ended up in the NICU for 2 weeks. And that hands down was the hardest thing that I've ever gone through in my life, because so when I was in labor, this comes back to the not asking for help. I didn't want to ask anyone to drive me to the hospital. And so I drove myself to the hospital in labor. delivered him on my own with the doctors. And it happened really like quick. When he was born, I only got to hold him for a minute before they took him away. And I didn't understand why. And I didn't have a lot of explanations. And I'm sure that they were telling me, but in that moment, it's hard to take in what the doctors and nurses are telling you. And it was like, what's happening with my son? But I kept coming back. I have to trust God. No matter what's going on with my son, I have to trust God. So each day got a little bit easier. And even though it was a roller coaster, like one day I would go in and he wouldn't need oxygen anymore. And then the next day I come in and he's back on oxygen. So it was all over the place, but I had to remain consistent for my son's best interest. And the only way I could do that was by reverting back to my faith, trusting God and going to God first, despite everyone who was so wonderful, reaching out to support me, asking if I needed someone to talk to. I'm so grateful for that. But I wanted to go straight to God and only to God.
That's good. I mean, this definitely proves your wisdom and also proves the power of God. And you were just talking about your son's birth and your experience. So thank you so much for really giving us so much of your story and telling us everything that you shared so humbly. It's not easy to do that. Sometimes it's tough for us to share our stories, as much as these are such great stories, but you're not alone in that. It took me a while to be able to do that myself, but I appreciate you. So lastly, if you could just spend a few minutes and just tell us if there are any last words of encouragement that you can share with single moms out there, what would it be?
Be gracious with yourself. Do your best and be okay with that. Lean on God as much as you can. Because if you can parent on your own or with minimal support, if you can do this, I truly believe you can do anything. I'm telling you, I know I'm going to be unstoppable. As soon as Alec can do a little more, talk and feed himself, I will be unstoppable, because it's such a blessing when God gives us the opportunity to become parents, and when we accept the challenge to grow ourselves, and we realize we're leading by example for our children. We start pushing ourselves to the next level. We become the best version of ourselves. So just know you can do anything after you do this. Be gracious and patient, but also don't lose yourself. Don't think you don't matter, right? Like, I think that's hard. Sometimes we want to always put our children first, but some days putting our children first actually looks like putting ourselves first, considering ourselves, our needs. And don't let anyone make you feel bad if you need a break. I've had people try to, I don't ever feel bad, because anything that makes you a better parent, that's the right thing to do. So
just that.
Yes, exactly. Know when you need to take a break and take a break. And you might need a break and not get it. That's okay. Push through. Pray to God and push through. You're gonna get your break. God will deliver. God will deliver. So don't give up.
Amazing. Thank you, Sarah. I really want to truly thank you so much for joining in and sharing your story. And I hope that all the viewers have watched this. This will be available on YouTube, Facebook. I'll be tagging Sarah on Facebook if you're watching it on YouTube. If you have any questions, comments, you can ask for Sarah directly from me, and I can get you in touch with her if you have additional questions. Trust me that I wish we could spend another hour talking through this, but I would say please be kind, as these are people's stories and their journey. So we want to remain kind and gentle and humble, to come together as a community and just be blessed. Thank you so much for supporting me on this channel. Thank you again, Sarah. You have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You as well. Be blessed.